Welcome to the Disneyland Beat, where our toes tap to a Disneyland drum.
And we always whistle while we work.
Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room opened June 23, 1963, anticipated as one of the most technologically advanced and impressive attractions at the park.
Today's show is a little bit shorter, and some of the birds' feathers are different colors, but overall, it's been the same show with the same voices in action for the past 59 years, and we have to wonder if some changes are not in store.
Today, we look at the history and possible future of Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room. Come on into the parks with us.
Like, subscribe, and stick around.
Disneyland is your land.
He comes seeking adventure as the old pirates, eh?
Made the jump to light speed.
Hi everyone, I'm TC.
And I'm Amy. You know, it's hard to look at the history of the Enchanted Tiki Room without looking at the history of audio-animatronics at the Walt Disney Company. The spark of imagination found Walt when he was visiting New Orleans and purchased a late 19th century mechanical bird. He brought it back to his Imagineers and asked them to figure out how it worked. A replica of the intricate clockwork bird is part of the decor at Disneyland's 21 Royal.
They started small, before any Disneyland had been built, in the early 1950s, and they developed a small mechanical man who could dance. It was dubbed Project Little Man, and actor Buddy Ebsen was recorded dancing a few popular dances, and then the Imagineers copied them with the movement of the maquette.
Before Disneyland, Walt had spent a lot of time working with miniatures, a true passion of his. But by the 1960s, they had opened a park and were starting to think bigger. Disneyland legend Roger Broggie had pushed the idea of working with larger scale animatronics, and at the 1964 World's Fair, they wowed the world with the debut of President Abraham Lincoln. Looking to develop Adventureland and to bring in sponsors for the park, Walt wanted to expand on one of the most impressive themed structures in the park. Today, that same building houses the Jolly Holiday Cafe, the Tropical Hideaway, the Enchanted Tiki Room, and the Juice Bar, all in one building. The next time you're in the park, watch the building transform in an instant as you walk past.
In 1962, that space housed the Plaza Pavilion on the Main Street USA side and the Tahitian Terrace on the Adventureland side. Though the Tahitian Terrace was a more expansive experience than the Hideaway is now, with its own enormous Disney tree, waterfall, and Disney show.
The idea was to add a dinner and show where guests would be serenaded by animatronic birds and flowers while they ate. In fact, there's still some evidence of this original idea. John Hench had done some very nice renderings that show the center fountain piece doubled as a waiter station, and in fact, it's a cabinet still with doors that can swing out.
And the private restrooms at the Tiki Room, long a treasured secret, were an original requirement of an indoor restaurant, something we wish was still a requirement at Disneyland.
Anyhow, the idea was to have a timed dining experience with an hour-long window to eat a light meal. But the more the animatronic show got developed, especially once witty Imagineer Mark Davis was brought on board, the more it took on a life of its own and seemed to develop into an attraction worthy of a headliner.
And the more they tried to work out a timed one-hour meal and show, the more it seemed to fall short. So Walt made the decision to let the Audio-Animatronics show be the whole attraction. And who wants to sit under a bunch of birds while you eat anyhow?
I think during the development of the birds for the attraction, we saw true Imagineering. At once, the engineering side was making improvements, but they were also listening to the ideas of animators like Mark Davis, who were making the figures more lifelike. It was his idea to make it look like the birds were breathing, adding chest plates, and Imagineer Harriet Burns' idea to cover them with cashmere to make them realistic, believable, moving, blinking birds.
The attraction, or the technology, was a risk. It had changed so much in development. It was relying on untested technology, and that getting sponsors was kind of difficult. As in the past, Walt footed the bill himself, investing much of his personal capital in the project. Once it was obvious that the attraction would be a hit, United Airlines signed on as a sponsor for a decade.
Audio-Animatronics?
Right, Audio-Animatronics.
The 150 Singing Birds and Flowers were a huge hit and a moneymaker. At the time, it was the only attraction not included with a typical ticket book and required an additional charge. Originally, the ride had a barker bird out in front that would call out to guests, enticing them to come inside.
It is showtime now in Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room.
But it caused so many traffic jams in an already tight spot that they had to cut it.
The show itself is inspired by a Polynesian island feel and the Hawaiian trends that swept the nation in the 1950s and 60s, particularly in California. Disney music composers extraordinaire the Sherman Brothers created the signature song, the Tiki 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 Room, and Mark Davis, producer, helped pull together some favorites like the vaudevillian tune, Let's All Sing Like the Birdies Sing.
George Bruns was brought in to orchestrate the whole thing. When you listen, you can hear phrases that sound like they're right out of his Disney films, The Sword and the Stone and 101 Dalmatians. It was Walt's idea to not have a single MC for the Birdie Show, but rather 4 from different nationalities.
The original version of the show was about 17 minutes long, and it included a bird operetta section that has been cut out of today's shorter version.
Next, the plants descend and begin to sing a song that leads us to our finale, the popularized Hawaiian war chant, which actually has a fairly complex history. The song was originally written in the 1960s by a Hawaiian prince, and the traditional version of the song had nothing to do with war and rather focused on 2 lovers.
In the 1930s, a jazzy version of the song was created by Johnny Noble, and that was picked up and covered by popular bandleader Tommy Dorsey, and then it became a national hit.
The tiki poles come alive and begin to chant the lyrics to the song, leading to a thunderous climax. A few closing notes of Aloha Oi, Farewell to Thee are heard before the show ends on a high note.
Everybody, face the door, and the trick is, we're gonna make you all disappear!
Hi-ho, and through the doors we go.
The experience is magical, and it can easily take up 30 delightful minutes of your Disney day. The pre-show on the lanai offers an audio-animatronic show on its own, with 8 different statues depicting enchanted spirits coming to life. You can enjoy a Dole Whip at the juice bar, and you can have that on the lanai or take it into the show.
The attraction had been refurbished a few times over its long tenure. The sound system, the animatronics themselves have all been replaced, and the show is currently looking and sounding fantastic.
As we look beyond the ride's 60th anniversary, we wonder if the recent Mickey Mouse short, The Enchanted Hut, does not give us a few clues as to what might be in store for the future of this attraction.
The cartoon is clearly based on the Tiki Room and has enchanted birds and flowers, but instead of tiki masks and statues, there are some happy singing enchanted trees, and the villain was not so much a god, but rather an angry thundercloud.
We're just guessing, we don't know, but we think this represents the type of changes that we could see. The word tiki might be innocent and well-intentioned enough for some, but for many, it represents actual religions and traditions. It was no mistake that it was omitted from the cartoon. Particularly the bar culture has been called out by native Hawaiian culture. There's no doubt that this is complicated, but it's also understandable.
We don't think this means any changes to the birds or flowers, but it might mean rebranding the attraction to not use the word tiki and even removing the classic Sherman Brothers song. And we get that that's kind of hard, but it could mean some new music might be composed too.
And it is possible that the Tiki Gods themselves could get revisited. They could get changed into something like the enchanted trees that we saw in the Mickey short, or they could simply be changed to become more accurate like we saw in Moana.
Ultimately, we think Disney will try to make these changes without altering the substance of the show and keeping many of the same characters and original segments. Maintaining the integrity of the attraction will be important.
We don't expect the type of changes that we saw with the Tiki Room under new management in Walt Disney World, with the birds singing modern pop songs either, or any similar type of dramatic change. We think they will do something that is in line with the original show and keep as much of the original show as possible.
We think that the wheels might take a while to turn, but Disney wants everyone to feel welcome in their parks, and they want to sell products to every market around the world as well.
We adore Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room and its rich history at Disneyland. And if the attraction is changed, we are confident that history will be preserved. But we are also ready to head into the future.
See you real soon, Mouseketeers.
See you real soon.